What is the reality of distribution for independent filmmakers today?
It's rough. The reality of distribution for independent filmmakers is that you have to curb your expectations. There's so many movies out, and there's only so many outlets for you to see them, for people to see them. And everyone, even distributors on your film, are doing their best. Trust me, everyone wants people to pay that $10 on iTunes or stream that movie, and they're all doing their best to make that happen. So I think you have to be realistic during the distribution process. I think you have to be, knowing that, I think you have to be very economical from the get-go making your movies. I think you have to be super stringent and strict on your budgets and efficient, and not doing anything that's going to hurt you have to always take in consideration the investment of your film. And in the end of the day, it's very hard to make your money back on these movies. And so if you're kind of doing it, again, it goes back, if you're doing that to try to, turn around a quick profit, that's not the reality anymore. The reality is it will get to exist, and it will get to be out there, and, your friends will get to see it, and audiences will maybe learn to love it. And that's the reward. But I think the distribution process is very difficult. At the same time, we're given a lot more opportunity now. I mean, if you look at all the films that were never available until now, it's amazing. All these great revival DVD companies like Severin Films and Arrow Video, and all these companies that have come and taken films that for so long were unavailable to any of us, or had bootlegs of VHS, and they're re-releasing them, and that's really awesome. So I think now you're always going to be able to release your film, whether you get the best distributor, you get an A24 or a Neon, or you get a smaller, more niche distributor, or you can self-distribute. And I think self-distribution I've never done it, and I've been lucky that my last two movies have both found distribution. But at the same time, why not explore it, right? Like you can get one of these aggregators. I think you pay them like $1,800. There's different tiers. You can pay them between like $1,800 and $3,000. And they get you on all the platforms, So I don't think there's any reason for your film to not get out there. And I think at a point you have to be very realistic as a filmmaker and producer, especially if you're wearing both hats on a smaller movie, that someone's got to cut your losses and just get the movie out there and see where it lands. So I think that's the reality of it. I think it's tough because it's so different now. It's not the 90s, it's not like your film, you have a better chance of getting to Harvard than you do of your film getting to Sundance, and, Amazon coming and giving you $3 million for your movie. And the people get that. It's great. And they mostly deserve it because their films are really good. But there's a lot of really good films that people self-distribute, that small distributors take out. And I think I think the other thing as a filmmaker that we have to learn is we also have to be our own marketers. We have to understand marketing. We have to understand finding a niche audience and going after them through social media, through making little fun content around your film, trying to find a way to break. Like, you can't expect anyone else is going to do it for you. So I think even if you have a good distributor, so I think you really, as a filmmaker, have to really, know that every step of this process, you're going to have to put your best foot forward. But there's ways to do it. It's just, all of it's just about kind of being creative and not getting down, like not letting yourself down. Oh, I didn't get that deal. I didn't get that, this person didn't respond to my email. They don't like me. They don't like it. Like, you can go put your film out for free. You can go put it on a website and say, hey, everyone pay $1. Here's your movie. There's no rules anymore, which is beautiful. There's almost like an anarchy to film distribution. So it's kind of in your hands as the creator, which is a great thing as well.
That's interesting you said that, the anarchy of film distribution, because I feel like when Kickstarter started, everyone was just so excited, and Indiegogo and all that, those platforms. I think they've been around, 10 years now? Yeah. And so there was this initial excitement, but then some of the expectation maybe wasn't totally realistic, not within those platforms. Those platforms are excellent, and I'm glad they're around. It's just once the movie's made, because I think it was like this giant bubble. And so I think that's a much more realistic, you kind of are at this like acceptance, like you just have to kind of see where your film's going to find its place. And maybe that's a nice evolution to the 10 years of, okay, now that, infamous, we take it from the gatekeepers and all, that people were using 10 years ago. But then what happens? Yeah, okay, there's no more gatekeepers, but now where does it land? And so I think that's very realistic.
Absolutely. And Queen was a Kickstarter film.
Oh,
we
okay,
raised money off Kickstarter to finish the movie, and we were very lucky. And I do think we were at an end of a bubble, because I don't think I could do that now. I think it was very much a time and place where we were able to motivate and really see a lot of people people I never met giving good chunks of change to a film, because, it resonated with them somehow. And that was a nice way to build a small audience from the beginning. And it was almost like a litmus test. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you can't rely on that. I was just talking to a friend recently. She's trying to do an Indiegogo, and she was just struggling with it. It wasn't finding its way. And I said, it's not your fault. It's like, you can't force these things to happen. You're asking a lot of people. So you just keep working hard, doing the best you can, and you don't use it. You don't let it get in the way of making your movie. But it's very hard. But yes, with distribution, I think it's the same thing now, where you can almost choose your path. And if you're left with no more choices, you can do it yourself. You can just get it out there. There's no reason for your film not to be seen. There's no reason for it to sit in a vault.
What do you think there was a bubble? That's really interesting, because I kind of saw the same thing, and those are amazing platforms. I go on there and I see their recommendations, and I find ones that even aren't recommended, and I'm like, wow, this is fantastic, but it is harder to get donations.
Well, I think that, like anything, when it's new and fresh, it's new and fresh, and then everything kind of has a cycle, and then a lot of other of these kind of crowdsourcing sites popped up along the way. And again, suddenly the market was oversaturated. So there was just too many people trying to get their films made. As well, I think there's been a real drop off, and I don't have the statistics, but I think social media isn't it. I kind of think we saw this whole equilibrium shift when it was the mixture of the Trump era, the social media kind of took this whole turn where it became much more politicized, and we kind of had a Twitter president, and then that also came to most of Kickstarter and these crowdfunding's bubbles were crowdfunding source was social media. So I don't think people were maybe able to motivate so much the social media aspect of it as they once were, because I think we're all just overwhelmed. I think we're just sick of people targeting us with ads, with their asks, with their their GoFundMes or whatever. I think we're burnt out. So that's what I don't think it has anything to do with Kickstarter. I think it just has to do with a whole generation and a whole group of the world that's just burnt out on the internet a little bit.